Good morning from the nation's capital, Monrovia. Welcome to King's Newsman, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest afterward. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, and I'm Newton Tupa presenting. The House of Representatives and Senate face continued rumble over draft 2026 budget hearings as Senate conducts separate hearing with government ministries and agencies. National Bureau of Concession Director General criticizes Dolma concessions and non-compliance concessionaires. Hessen Kazlu demands all concessionaires to meet taxi payment obligations and harbor labor standard. State prosecutors call for the inclusion of Montserrat County District 12 Representative Jared Yogbo in Capitol Building as in case claim new findings link Representative Yogbo to destruction of the Capitol Building. Away from Liberia, life-wing Cameroonian opposition figure Anicet Ikini has died in detention 5 weeks after he was arrested, his lawyers and party have announced. Gunmen have abducted at least 20 people, including a pastor and a new bride, in two separate attacks in the latest Nigerian kidnappings. These, plus the news bulletin, our international developments. At our package, we are taking a very short break to be right back. Thanks for rejoining, and let's now have the news bulletin. Despite concerns raised by the House of Representatives, the Liberian Senate is continuing its separate budget hearings for the draft 2026 national budget with government ministries and agencies. Following the Senate separate hearings, severe tension have brewed within the national legislature as members of the House of Representatives accused the Senate of overstepping its constitutional authority by conducting separate budget hearings. Members of the House of Representatives, including Montserrat County District 14 lawmaker Michael Thomas, have since expressed dissatisfaction in the Senate action. Several government agencies, including state-owned enterprises, have already appeared for budget hearings with Senate and have reportedly refused to appear during the House's revenue hearings. On Monday, December 1st, the Senate Committee on Ways, Means and Finance and Budget held hearings with the Liberia Petroleum Refining Company, National Road Farms, Ministries of Internal Affairs, Commerce, National Fire Service, among others, something many believe that has sparked deeper tension between both houses. However, the House of Representatives has since announced its Committee on Ways, Means and Finance, in collaboration with the Committee on Public Account and Expenditure, will commence hearings on the expenditure component of the 2026 draft national budget on Tuesday, December 2nd. National Bureau of Concession Director General Henson Kazulu has vowed to review all concession agreements to ensure compliance with tax and labor laws. Kazulu, who got inducted in the office on November 28, said he would ensure every concessionaire meets its obligations, including paying taxes, honoring labor standards, and contributing to the welfare of Liberians. He emphasized that concessionaires that fail to uphold concession agreements will be held accountable for the criticizing dormant concessions. The NBC Director General said, among several other things, his leadership will strongly address that's dormant concessions, adding that too many agreements have remained inactive for years with no active or activities, no jobs, and no reverse. According to him, his first act as Director General will be to contact all concessionaires directly to understand why they have failed to act and ensure that all back taxes, surface renters, and other obligations are brought current. He added that concessions that remain dormant without justification will be subject to review and, where necessary, face termination. The National Bureau of Concession Director General at the same time called on staffers of the institution to embrace structural reform and will introduce under his administration for the good of the institution. Director General Kazulu, however, promised to prioritize the welfare of the workforce for effective and time discharge of duties which will enable that NBC youth is needed results. State prosecutors in the ongoing capital arson trial have filed a motion to amend the indictment to include Montserrat County District 12 Representative Jerry Yokbo as co-defendant in the high-profile case. The state prosecutor, citing Article 14, Subchapter 14.7 of the Criminal Procedures Law of Liberia, argued that the amendment is both lawful and necessary. They pointed out what they described as new findings allegedly linking the Montserrat County District 12 lawmaker to the crime. The capital building arson case, which began several months ago, has already attracted widespread public attention as allegations of coordinated action for the destruction of the public property remain a major concern. However, defense lawyers have objected to the motion, terming it legally flawed and procedurally weak. The defense emphasized that Representative Yokbo was never named in the original indictment, nor was he mentioned during the preliminary investigations. They further resisted the prosecutor's attempt to implicate a sitting legislator without clear evidence appears politically motivated and unsupported by law. Criminal Court A Judge Receiver Willie is expected to rule on the motion as the trial continues, as Representative Jerry Yokbo has not been formally indicted or included in the indictment. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with development partners, has officially launched the National Initiative for Triple Elimination of HIV, Syphilis, and Hepatitis B among pregnant women across the country. The launch formed part of activities marking World AIDS Day celebration and brought together government officials, international partners, health stakeholders committed to strengthening a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable national response to HIV and related public health challenges. Delivering a keynote statement on behalf of VP Jeremiah Cohn, Minister of Health, Dr. Louis Poto said the initiative underscores the government's dedication to mobilizing domestic support and transforming strategies for responding to HIV. According to Dr. Poto, the introduction of the triple elimination strategy reflects Liberia's determination to reinforce accountability and build sustainable approaches within the national health system. She highlighted the progress made in the fight against HIV, which is attributed to effective policies and strong community-led initiatives. The health minister further disclosed that more than 81% of the people living with HIV in Liberia are aware of their status, with many receiving appropriate treatment. Also speaking at the event, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Augustine Gaffwan, commended the Ministry of Health for what he described as unprecedented commitment to safeguarding the nation's health sector and reaffirmed the government's continued support for strengthening healthcare delivery system. Granco County Senator Nomeni Batikwa has made a troubling revelation regarding President Joseph Boakar's possible stance against all deputies at government ministries and agencies. The Senate Committee on Investment and Construction chairman, who spoke during the formal induction of Hessen Kazulu, National Bureau of Construction Director General, said President Boakar has advised to take immediate action against any deputy of government institution who would undermine their bosses. According to him, the president's action will be immediately removed from the government, and deputy who will be non-cooperative to their bosses. Senator Batikwa caveat to ministries and agency deputy heads has sent spark concerns in public, several persons describing the act as authoritarian and lack accountability. Many persons believe the recent dismissals of deputy heads of some government institutions premises something, he said, has disrupted government function. The Coalition for Democratic Change, former Montserrat County District 12 Representative Kennedy Prince Crippler, is calling on government to urgently intervene in recent anti-drug raid in Stephen Turbert estate. According to him, the raid carried out by state security personnel reportedly resulted in the deaths of 5 individuals in the community. Cripplas, in a communication to the Minister of Justice Monday, cited eyewitness accounts claiming that live bullets were discharged during the joint security operation, leading to multiple injuries and reported deaths. The former representative candidate condemned the alleged action, emphasizing that under the Liberian law, the international human rights standards, all individuals suspected of criminal activity, including drug-related offenses, are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court of competence jurisdiction. He stressed that while he supports legitimate security measures aimed at safeguarding communities, such efforts must be conducted strictly within the boundaries of law. Speaking to King's FM Monday, Cripplat warned that the reported incident, if not addressed promptly, could impose or expose the country to accusation of extrajudicial conduct, urging the Ministry of Justice to commission an impartial investigation into the matter. Crippler further disclosed that he is prepared to formally notify the U.S. Embassy and international human rights organizations through the government that should the government fail to take appropriate action. Royal Communications Incorporated General Manager Anthony Abraham Gossant William has underscored the urgent need for service-driven leadership across Liberia's governance system. Serving as guest speaker at the fourth graduation and commencement ceremony of Theater Foundation in Johnsonville, Anthony William urged the graduates to cultivate values and attitudes that are acceptable and beneficial to larger society. He described academic certificates as a driver's lesson, noting that they empower individuals to navigate societal responsibilities more effectively. The journalist lawyer emphasized that Liberia continues to face significant leadership challenges, calling on students and other citizens to adopt a mindset rooted in service and responsibility in order to positively transform the country's governance structure, and further encourage the graduates to embrace self-reliance and self-actualization, stressing that the roadmap geared toward academic and professional achievement. Anthony William remarks come at the time the nation is experiencing what many describe as leadership crisis in the individual, prioritizing self-aggrandizement over genuine public service. The Liberian National Police and the Sierra Leonean Police have launched an advanced critical step toward enhancing regional security cooperation. The launch reaffirms both countries' police forces' joint commitment to confront terrorism, organized crime, and cross-border threats impacting the Mano River Union and the wider West African sub-region. In brief remarks Monday at the LMP headquarters in Monrovia, Inspector General of the Liberian National Police Gregory Coleman lauded the Sierra Leonean police delegation led by the Assistant Inspector General of Police. According to Coleman, the arrival of the delegation followed his recent visit and engagement with the Sierra Leonean President and the Inspector General of Sierra Leone Police aimed at strengthening regional security cooperation. He noted that during his visit to Sierra Leone, his counterparts in Freetown, both institutions agreed to begin outlining a unified regional security mechanism designed to support joint operations, intelligence sharing, and coordinated responses to transitional crimes. Also, in response at the meeting, the Assistant Inspector General for Police of Sierra Leone, Dr. John Sensi, expressed heartfelt appreciation for Liberia's hospitality and spirit of collaboration. He vowed that Sierra Leone police will work together to strengthen bilateral relations, especially in sharing experiences, exchange knowledge, and reinforce the bonds between the two countries. Liberians have expressed dissatisfaction over the continued celebration of the birthday of former President William V. S. Tubman as national holiday. Those who spoke with King's FM say the observance no longer aligns with the country's current realities. They argue that Liberia should not continue celebrating a past leader whom they believe made little positive impact on the nation, pointing to several national challenges, including poor road networks, unequipped government hospitals, and struggling that's educational system and a weak economy. The citizens said it is difficult to justify honoring such a holiday when the country is still battling underdevelopment. According to them, the November 29th holiday should be reconsidered to better reflect the needs and progress of the nation. The president of the National Bar Association, Councillor Bonavama, has announced that preparations are underway for the association's much anticipated 2025 annual national convention scheduled for December 4th to the 7th, 2025 in Ganta City, Nimba County. Speaking at a press briefing Monday in Monrovia, Councillor Vama described the gathering as a defining movement for Liberia's legal community and the broader rule of law sector as the nation continues working to restore public trust in its justice system. According to Councillor Vama, the theme for the convention, strengthening the rule of law, the lawyer's role in restoring public trust, reflects the bar's renewed focus on promoting perfection and excellence, ensuring judicial integrity, and enforcing public confidence in legal institutions. Councillor Varman emphasized that the National Convention remains the supreme decision-making body of the LMBA. He noted that this year's deliberation will address core issues shaping judicial performance, access to justice, and the future of legal practice in Liberia. Councillor Varma reminded BAB members that the participation in the CLE section is essential to obtaining the mandatory 10 CLE credit hours required for the 2025 professional year. Meanwhile, Councillor Varman added that the former sections, the convention is expected to feature an array of social and fraternity activities, including a parade and sporting events on Saturday, December 6. The University of Liberia campus-based Student Unification Party has strongly criticized the Boakat Kun administration for what it described as bad governance. SUP accused the government of willfully carrying out corruption, economic mismanagement, and failed to deliver basic services for the ordinary citizens. Addressing a press conference Monday, SUP party propaganda chair Emmanuel Puri argued that the government's failure to fight corruption has negatively impacted the country and have resulted to dozens of Liberians being unable to afford their daily needs. He asserted that many Liberians are facing severe economic hardship, including soaring unemployment, rampant poverty, and rising cost of living due to deliberate act of corrupt practices carried out by government officials. The Student Unification Party propaganda chair claimed that the administration lacks a clear national economic development plan and vision to attract investment. Poli also accused the government of selective justice, political bias in law enforcement, and the use of state security to silence opposition. He at the same time alleged that the Unity Party-led government has failed to ensure proper sanitation, public health, and infrastructural development as promised during the 2023 campaign, and that the lack of essential medicines in hospitals and pills of uncollected garbage around Monrovia and other areas pose more risk. The National Fuel Assistance Agency Deputy Director General for Administration is encouraging high school graduates to seek opportunities for higher education. Bob Cato noted that senior students have talents and abilities to improve their academic standing, but they will have to be prepared for the challenges ahead. According to him, most of the seniors need to take up the challenge by venturing academic undertakings to prepare themselves for the future. He made the observation when he delivered a keynote speech marking the 38th graduation program of the Mid-Baptist Christian High School in Tapeta, Nimba County over the weekend. And the Bishop of the United Methodist Church has commended the United Methodist Men Organization of Monrovia District Conference for what he described their level of maturity, good leadership, and stewardship in discharge of their duties. Bishop Samuel Quiet said the United Methodist Men Organization should always serve as good example for the rest of the organizations in the church to follow. Bishop Quire made the commendation shortly after the elections of the new scope of officers of the United Methodist Men Organization of the Moruya District Conference held in the borough of Town on the Bushwell Island during the weekend. Remarking shortly after the election, the president-elect of the United Methodist Men Organization of Moruya District Conference, Garrison Billy, assured the members of transparency and accountability during his tenure. Billy encouraged members of the United Methodist Men Organization of Moruya District Conference to always form part of the activities regarding the interests of the organization and the church. Others elected were Aaron Gikot, Vice President for Administration, Maurice Cleon, Vice President for Operation, and Nyakon Freeman, Secretary General. Others are Benjamin Sear, Financial Secretary, Otis Bash, Assistant Financial Secretary, Amos Bekele, Treasurer, among others. What if you just joining us, a reminder you're listening to King's News, Broom, the 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, and I'm Newton Tokwa presenting stories we're following this morning. The House of Representatives, Senate, and Senate face continued rumble over draft 2026 budget hearings as Senate conducts separate hearings with government ministries and agencies. National Bureau of Concession Director General criticizes dormant concessions and non-compliance concessionaires. Hence, Kasulu demands all concessionaires to meet taxes payment obligations and harbor labor standards. State prosecutors call for the inclusion of Montserrat County District 12 Representative Jerry Yokbo in capital bidding arson case, claimed new findings linked Representative Yokbo to destruction of the Capitol building. And away from Liberia, left-wing Cameroonian opposition figure Anissé Ikane has died in detention 5 weeks after he was arrested, his lawyers and party have announced. Gunmen have abducted at least 20 people, including a pastor and a new bride, in 2 separate attacks in the latest Nigerian kidnappings. These are stories we're following here this morning on King's News Broom. We are taking another short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the voices of the news makers. Welcome and thanks for rejoining. On this first development here this morning, the National Bureau of Concession Director General Henson Kasulu has vowed to review all concession agreements to ensure compliance with tax and labor laws. Kasulu, who got inducted into office on November 28, said he would ensure every concessionaire meets its obligations, including payment of taxes, honoring labor standards, and contributing to the welfare of Liberians.
Life is patient. I say I've done a patient president for almost 1 year, 10 months. This series of priorities, including those I presented to the Senate during my confirmation. The first 100 days will be to review all concession agreements for compliance with tax and our labor laws. Every concessionaire must meet its obligation, including paying taxes, honoring labor standards, and contributing to the welfare of our people based on the MDA. We also foster accountability and trust between the government and the investors and the citizens of the affected communities. Second, we will continue to encourage the investor, which are the concessionaire, to create more jobs for our striving populations. There, we address the dormant concessions. Too many agreements have remained inactive for years, with no activities, no job, no revenue. This is unacceptable. Dormancy undermine our economy and deprive our citizens of opportunities. My first act as Director General will be to contact these concessionaires directly to understand why they have failed to act and to ensure that all bike taxes, surface rental, and other obligations are brought current. Concessions that remain dormant without justification, I will be recommending to the President of the Republic of Liberia and to the legislature to de-rectify those concessionaires.
The NBC Director General emphasized that concessionaires that fail to uphold concession agreements will be held accountable for the criticizing dormant concessions. The NBC Director General said, among several other things, his leadership will strongly address dormant concessions, adding that too many agreements have remained inactive for years with no activities, no jobs, and no reverse. According to him, the first act as Director General will be to contact all concessionaires directly to understand why they have failed to act and to ensure that all back taxes, surface rentals, and other obligations are brought current.
It's my government have fought in every way to see that President Baka is the president, but I have to wait for some time, more than a year and a half. So it's issue of patience. I will appeal to you guys to have patience with the new leadership mechanism and bringing. As time goes by, even your work condition will change positively. We build capacity. We gave more incentives to deliver on the agenda. But you should have the ability to stand the tension at the workplace. You should also have it at the back of your mind and bring in structural reform within the National Bureau of Concession.
He's the Director General of the National Bureau of Concession, Hansen Kiazulu, there speaking. Despite concerns raised by the House of Representatives, the Liberian Senate is continuing its separate budget hearings for the draft 2026 national budget with government ministries and agencies. Following the Senate's separate hearings, several tensions have brewed within the national legislature as members of the House of Representatives accused the Senate of overstepping its constitutional authority by conducting separate budget hearings. Members of the House of Representatives, including Montserrat County District 14 lawmaker Michael Thomas, have since expressed dissatisfaction in the Senate action. Several government agencies, including state-owned enterprises, have already appeared for budget hearing within the Senate and have reportedly refused to appear during the House's revenue hearings.
And the progress in the local document is 20,507. So meaning in 2024, our projection, we see our projection in terms of the 300,000 finance projected, and we proceed that another 300,000 we have excess. So based on that, we go to 2026 revenue, 2025. 2025 revenue. So if we look at our revenue generated in 2025 was 306, our annual target 306,250. And actually we generated 136,559 in viewers. If you look do the calculation, the viewers is 169. So I will expand on that because in fire service we post fees in terms of doing inspection, vehicle inspection, commercial inspection, and fire certificate fees. But if you look at this 1 year, the reason why we just document that due to 300,000, we're only able to release 100.
That is a highlight from the Liberian Senate. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with development partners, have officially launched the National Initiative for the Triple Elimination of HIV, Syphilis, and Hepatitis B among pregnant women across the country. The launch formed part of activities marking World AIDS Day celebration and brought together government officials, international partners, and health stakeholders committed to strengthening a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable national response to HIV and related public health challenges. Delivering a special statement on behalf of Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn, the Minister of Health, Dr. Louis Kuto, said the initiative underscores the government's dedication to mobilizing domestic support and transforming strategies for responding to HIV.
With a deep sense of responsibility, gratitude, and national purpose. World AIDS Day is not merely a symbolic observance, it is a solemn moment when the world pauses to reflect on progress achieved, challenges remaining, and the responsibilities that demand collective leadership. Since 1988, World AIDS Day has united nations in a remembrance, solidarity, and action. It has created a global platform to honor the millions we have lost, support those living with HIV, and recommit ourselves to building resilient health systems that protect every life. This year, a global team overcoming disruption, transforming the AIDS response, calls for resilience and innovation. At the national level, our team mobilizing domestic support, transforming the AIDS response, reflects Liberia's determination to strengthen ownership, deepen accountability, and build a sustainable HIV response rooted in Liberian leadership. Liberia's joining the HIV response is a story of courage, collaboration, and perseverance, as stated when Dr. Flomo gave his speech and overview. Our progress has been driven by deliberate policies, community-led actions, and an unwavering commitment of health workers and people living with HIV and AIDS. In 2016, only 20% of people living with HIV knew their status. 11% were on treatment, and none had achieved viral suppression. Today, 86% know their status. The infections declined by 69%, and AIDS-related deaths fell by 74% over the past decade. More than 30,000.
Also speaking at the event, the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Augustine Gaffron, commended the Ministry of Health for what he described as an unprecedented commitment to safeguarding the nation's health sector and reaffirmed the government's continued support for strengthening healthcare delivery system.
Celebrate the fact that efforts, resources, and dedication have been put in this fight to the extent that AIDS is no longer a death sentence. And I remember in the past when you talk about someone who had HIV at a program, and everybody was red and pity when the person was coming up. But I didn't see that here when the representative came, to speak on behalf of those affected. It tells you the effort and how we've transformed. And let me also celebrate somebody. Everyone has been in this effort, but you've been in this country. Dr. Barbara Brilliant and others. We know that when you talk about the fight, in their little ways, they've been doing things for ages. So we celebrate all of you. We celebrate you, Dr. Luther, and others that have been fighting. we celebrate the transition. We know that we still have 36,000 persons. One person with AIDS is one person too many, too much, for this country. So our ambition will be that recklessly ambitious as it is, we need to push it to zero.
The Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Augustine Gaffon. Earlier, you heard the voice of Health Minister Dr. Louis Poto. What if you just joining us with the time half past the hour? A reminder, you're listening to King's Newsroom, a 45-minute news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, and I'm Newton Tokwa presenting stories we're following this morning. The House of Representatives and Senate face continual rumble over draft 2026 budget hearings as Senate conducts separate hearings with government ministries and agencies. National Bureau of Concession Director General criticized dormant concessions and non-compliance concession year, hence Kazulu demands all concession year to meet taxes payment obligations and harbor labor standard. State prosecutor called for inclusion of Montserrat County District 12 Representative Jerry Yorkport in Capitol Building arson case, claimed new fundings linked Representative Yorkport to destruction of the Capitol Building. And away from Liberia, left-wing Cameroonian opposition figure Anicet Akinin has died in detention 5 weeks after he was arrested, his lawyers and party have announced. Gunmen have abducted at least 20 people, including a pastor and a new bride, in 2 separate attacks in the latest Nigerian kidnappings. These are stories we're following here this morning on King's Newsroom. We are taking another short break to be back with more voices on the program. Thanks for rejoining. On this one now, Royal Communications Incorporated General Manager Anthony Abraham Gossent William has underscored the urgent need for service-driven leadership across Liberia's governance system. Serving as guest speaker at the 4th graduation and commencement ceremony of the Yatta Foundation in Johnsonville, Anthony William urged the graduates to cultivate values and attitudes that are acceptable and beneficial to larger society. He described academic certificates as a driver's lesson, noting that they empower individuals to navigate societal responsibilities more effectively.
I'm very happy to be here today to speak to my former self because I sat in the position they set me today as a student myself. I graduated, so I've come back to speak to myself, my former self, to encourage us that out there is not easy. I've just come privileged to just speak with you on the topic celebrating leadership and not profit-making leadership. Many times our students are graduating today, they are celebrating, they are happy, they are going to be getting their certificates. The certificate they are going to receive today is going to serve as a driver license, without which you cannot drive. But it is also possible. All people don't go to driving school, but they can have a driver license. It is also possible that other people don't know how to drive, but yet they can have a driver license. So it is equally possible that we all will pass through the walls of this institution and getting a driver license. The license does not indicate that indeed you will never make accidents. It all falls on your behavior in the traffic. You may have a license, you may go to the best professional school. It does not mean you will not make accidents. There can still be reckless people out there. You may be on a good road or driving as a good driver, and there are other reckless drivers that will come your way to spoil your car, and equally you will be involved into accidents. Such are the papers we receive. We have come here today and we are in a nation where people are more concentrating towards making profits for themselves than serving the community to make a greater impact. Many of our leaders who come to us ask us to go serve them, but instead of them seeing service as leadership, they see it as weakness. I don't know how weak was Jesus Christ when he decided to wipe the feet of his disciples. It does not take anything away. Putting people first is about service. Putting yourself first is about profit. And I want to say thanks to you, Chief. I heard what the Yata Foundation. In fact, as you are coming, the only reference they could give is Yata Road. I said, they said the community name they call Yata Road. He said, no, that is school. Many times, people remember what we leave on their heart and not what we leave in their hands. Because what we leave in their hands may fade, but what we leave on their hearts will stay. And this institution, look at how big dream you can see it through. The fans, the capacity, and everything. If this road network is better off, I can tell you for sure, this institution is poised to be one of the best institutions that I've ever seen in Montserrat County. And I want to tell you thank you for that training. The reason our streets are smaller today, because no one ever thought that our buildings were come to grow. The center is now congested. But you keep as far as this place to build this structure, thinking that years to come, the population will grow. And when it grew, where do we keep them? And that's what we are seeing here today.
He's the general manager of Royal Communications Incorporated, Anthony Abraham Gasson. We are speaking. The Coalition of Democratic Change former that's Montserrat County District 12 representative candidate Prince Crippler is calling for government urgent intervention in recent anti-drug raid in Stephen Turbot community. According to him, the raid carried out by state security personnel reportedly resulted in the deaths of 5 individuals in the community. Crippler, in a communication to the Ministry of Justice on Monday, cited eyewitness accounts claiming that live bullets were discharged during the joint security operation, leading to multiple injuries and reported deaths.
I have received pretty close to 50 calls from both within Stephen Turbot Estate and other communities in District Number 12. And in fact, nationally, there are a couple of people who also call me. A weekend, a couple of days ago, the Liberal Drugs Enforcement Agency, along with some members of the Liberal National Police, led by a guy famously known as T. Swain. T. Swain is a ranking member of the Liberal National Police. They raided a popular place in the Stephen Turbot Estate that a lot of old and young folks gather. Usually, allegedly, some people call it, ghetto, but they themselves don't refer to it as a ghetto. They see it as a place that people gather for different purposes that I may not know in detail, right? But they call the place Poultry. It's just very close to the Stephen Turbot Estate, the public school there in Stephen Turbot Estate, Ghanansville Special Project. So, according to all of the eyewitnesses and people who have reached out to me, the police went on and LDA went on a raid. They barricaded the 3 points of exit lane. I mean, from the left, the right, and ahead. They barricaded it and they were firing live bullets while proceeding to the poultry area. So out of fear for their life, more than 50 persons told me that more than 15 persons dived into the Mesorado River for fear of their lives, having heard, the police and the LDA people fire live bullets. And so more than 5 to 6 persons would fear dead in the process, allegedly. And then a couple of the other people who could swim a little bit swam across the river, and some of them were
He's the Coalition for Democratic Change former Montserrat County District 12 representative candidate Prince Crippler. They're speaking. The Liberal National Police and Sierra Leone Police have launched advanced critical step toward enhancing regional security cooperation. The launch reaffirms both countries' police forces' joint commitment to confront terrorism, organized crime, and cross-border threats that's impacting the Minor River Union and the wider West African sub-region. In brief remarks Monday at LNP headquarters in Monrovia, Inspector General of Police Colonel Gregory Coleman lauded the Sierra Leonean police dedication led by the Assistant Inspector General of Police. According to Coleman, the arrival of the dedication followed his recent visit and engagement with the Sierra Leonean President and the Inspector General of Sierra Leone Police aimed at strengthening regional security cooperation. Here is Gregory Coleman.
Extremely crazy our desire that this cooperation will yield its intended purposes. We are faced with an ongoing threat to the entire network solution that has to do with the expansion beyond the military basis of terroristic activities. And as such, the United States has been eligible where no West African country is immune to any act of terrorism at this point in time. So it is absolutely important that nations work together to put resources together to be able to combat this transnational organized criminals who threaten the security of our nation and the peace of our people. So tonight we have some serious discussions around this and why it's
He's the Inspector General of Police, Colonel Gregory Como, there speaking. And away from Liberia, left-wing Cameroonian opposition figure Aniset Akini has died in detention 5 weeks after he was arrested, his lawyers and party have announced. Akini, 74, was among the leaders of an opposition coalition who endorsed Issa Shiroman Bakary in October's presidential election. Shiroman Bakary says he was the rightful winner of the poll, officially won by 92-year-old incumbent Paul Biya. Shiroman Bakary has since fled to the Gambia. No official cause of Akini's death has been announced. His party has accused the authorities of denying him access to his medication, a charge the government has denied. And gunmen have abducted at least 20 people, including a pastor and a new bride, in 2 separate attacks in the latest Nigerian kidnappings. Attackers stormed the newly established Cherubim and Seraphim Church on Sunday in the central Kogi state, firing shots and forcing congregants to flee in panic. They seized the pastor and his wife and several worshippers. In another raid, night before in the northern Sokoto state, the bride and her bridesmaids were among those kidnapped. A baby, the baby's mother, and another woman were also taken, the AFP news agency reports. Schools and places of worship have increasingly been targeted in the latest wave of attacks in northern and central Nigeria. On that note, this is how I would like to go home this morning on this edition of King's News. Run a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of the world. But just before we go home this morning, let's remind you of stories we've been following. The House of Representatives and Senate face continued rumble over draft 2026 budget hearings as Senate conducts separate hearings with government ministries and agencies. National Bureau of Concession Director General criticizes dormant concessions and non-compliant concessionaires, and St. Kazilu demands all concessionaires to meet taxes payment obligations and harbor labor standards. State prosecutor called for inclusion of Montserrat County District 12 Representative Jerry Yokwa in Capitol Building arson case, claimed new fundings linked Representative Yokwa to destruction of the Capitol Building. Away from Liberia, left-wing Cameroonian opposition figure Aniset Akini has died in detention 5 weeks after he was arrested, his lawyers and party have announced. Gunmen have abducted at least 20 people, including a pastor and his new bride, in 2 separate attacks in the latest Nigerian kidnappings. These are stories we follow here this morning on King's Newsroom. I would like to say many thanks to all of our reporters, correspondents, news editors who helped in making this package. Our sources, better still, join us this afternoon at 1 o'clock At which time we will be here with another edition of the program King's News Broom. My name is Newton Toba. Thanks for listening and watching. Good morning.